So as you guys know, Jake Paul has been slashing through the boxing community like it was the Amazon rainforest, trying to find his own path to success, but no matter how hard he tries, he never seems to be getting any closer to achieving his goals. Shing, 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 is that a snake? Boom, is that a tiger? Karate chop, bitch! In his own mind though, he's already accomplished more than Muhammad Ali, but to the rest of us who aren't drowning in our own delusion, Jake Paul isn't even in the top 500 boxers of all time. I'll give him that 501st spot, but to put him in the top 500 would be a disservice to anyone who has ever put on the gloves. And you've heard me say this many times before if you're a subscriber, but there is nothing about this record, other than this loss to Tommy Fury, that would mean anything towards his actual boxing career. If we're gonna be honest, his actual boxing record is 3-1, which isn't bad, but when you add the 9 other fights, he's 3-10. And I know we didn't lose any of those fights, but winning them did just about the same for his career as if he lost. Nobody who is serious about boxing is going to brag about Jake Paul beating Tyron Woodley or Nate Diaz or even Mike Tyson like he wants so badly for everyone to do. Jake has found a sport that prioritizes money over morals so badly that they will and are going to continue to let this happen whether we want it to or not. All this dude cares about is the next American celebrity he can pay to be his friend. God forbid he starts showing up on the field for the coin toss just because the Saudis gave Roger Goodell $1 billion and a blowjob. Like, the longer we let this guy do this, it's only going to be a matter of time before all our sports become nothing but gimmick fights that are specifically meant to make money. However, it looks like Jake Paul is going to change all that and is finally going to test himself for the second time in his career. You guys have probably heard about the fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis being cancelled because Davis has magnet hands and every woman's face seems to have metal in it. So you put 2 and 2 together and what do you get? Domestic violence, which is exactly why the fight was called off. And Jake even made an announcement saying that he doesn't want to give this woman abuser a platform and that his company champions women. And it's like, yeah, you say that now after his most recent arrest, but you were still going to give him a platform knowing that he was arrested and convicted of similar crimes in the past. Like, what Jake did is like you challenging OJ Simpson to a race, but then he gets charged for another murder right before the race and you're like, yeah, I don't want to give this murderer a platform. Like, what Davis did was awful, but don't act like you cared about any of this other than because it affected what you were going to do. But of course, after that, Jake started panicking trying to find a replacement fight, even calling Francis Ngannou asking him if he wanted to be a replacement, only for him to literally say, Jake Paul? Yeah, don't embarrass me like that. They're also come and beat the shit out of you.
So we think about you to fight Jake to replace Gervonta. I'm like, who's Jake? I'm like, no, bro, come on. Don't disrespect me like that.
After that, he started talking about a Nate Diaz rematch, which is something nobody wanted, regardless of how much we like Nate. I even think they were trying to get Tommy Fury to step in for a rematch, but no one was accepting the fight. And it's funny because in my last video talking about this, I made fun of Jake for even asking Anthony Joshua to be a replacement, saying that he's just going to use that call out as promo when he knows he's never going to accept it. Well, apparently I could be wrong, and people everywhere are saying that Jake Paul is going to fight Anthony Joshua in December.
Right, we mentioned earlier that Anthony Joshua still didn't have an opponent for his next fight, but he was thinking of still fighting before the end of the year. And we've got some breaking news for you now because we're hearing that AJ is in talks with Jake Paul.
Sky Sports News looks like a high school broadcast, but as you can see, even the British people are getting excited. This is the biggest thing to happen to them since the Queen died. And like I said, everyone was talking about it like they were seconds away from signing the contract and making things official. However, and this proves that I'm never wrong, and ignore the ad, but you can see that at 9:24 this morning, this article titled Anthony Joshua Jake Paul Not Agreed, Tyson Fury Plan for 2026 was posted to ESPN.com. So you can't get any more official than that. But it says, when asked if the Paul fight would happen, and they're asking Anthony Joshua's promoter this, Hearn told BBC 5 Live, possibly everyone jumped the gun last night. There has been some conversations. Our focus is on 2026. We have a big fight planned for February, and a big fight hopefully against Tyson Fury next summer. We may run out in 2025 and have a low-key fight somewhere. If that is going to destroy the run of Mr. Paul and make tens of millions in the process, US? Maybe. Nothing's confirmed yet, so there you have it. If you're a fan of any combat sports, boxing, MMA, wrestling, whatever, then you know that it is basically impossible for someone like Anthony Joshua to fight in December and then turn around and go fight someone 2 months later. When you reach the status that people like Anthony Joshua have, you have to assume that they need at least 6 months to prepare for their next fight. And that's like the minimum. They usually take like a year. Like, unless he wins in the first round without getting punched, and there is no way a boxer is doing that same thing again 2 months later. And the fact that he calls the fight with Jake Paul a low-key fight only shows that this is less likely to happen. If you told Jake Paul that this was a low-key fight and not the biggest fight of his career, he'd probably shit himself in anger trying to explain to you how it is. But just like Joshua's promoter said, everyone was celebrating early because they're like, we get to finally see Jake Paul lose! Mostly because this dummy right here, he posted this last night. Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell Ring Magazine Paul steps up massively to fight the former heavyweight champion after this exhibition with Gervonta Davis was cancelled. Major props to Paul. And then you ask this guy's source and he turns into that meme and he's like, I made it up. Like, this dude was told by his butthole sources that Jake Paul tried to reach out to Anthony Joshua and he's like, does that mean they're finalizing the deal? No, I didn't say that. Do not say I said that. And then he tweets out this. They finalizing the deal. But literally, because of this dude right here, everyone is talking about this like it's going to happen. Like, if any of Jake Paul's boxing career would lead you to believe that this is actually true. Anthony Joshua is 6'6". Jake Paul is 6'1". That alone should tell you that this fight was never going to happen. Jake Paul fighting someone bigger than him is like discovering Bigfoot. You get scared and then you shoot him with a machine gun. Oh, fuck! Like I said in my last video talking about this, Jake Paul will let something like this go viral, but then not say anything about it because he knows that it's never going to happen. Jake Paul hasn't tweeted anything since last week. If this fight was actually going to happen, we would have seen and heard how much of a pussy he is and that he doesn't know what he got himself into and all the other stuff Jake Paul would normally do before a fight. But there's nothing. And even if you're like, well, he said he could fight at the end of 2025. Yeah, but like the article says, Joshua has a big fight coming up in February and that he wants to fight Tyson Fury later that year. Why would somebody have their career be going like this and have to take a steep dive and then just go back right up to doing the same thing? This ain't the stock market, dog. This is your career, and you still have plenty of time to taint it with a loss from an influencer when the next Jake Paul calls you out when you're 70. But now is not the time. Or hey, maybe it will be. This isn't going to be one of those fights where people can poke holes at the opponent being like they haven't been fighting for this long or whatever. If they can agree to this fight, this is going to be the biggest fight of Jake Paul's career. But something his ego won't allow him to do is see that a loss to Anthony Joshua in anything other than the first round, mind you, would look better on his record than a win against someone who just transitioned into boxing a few months earlier. But yeah, guys, don't get too excited because like most things, if it sounds too good to be true, it most likely is. So tomorrow, peace.